Hello and welcome to Guy Cocker's Video Games Podcast, episode 22 on the 14th of October 2013. I'm your host Guy Cocker, and on this week's show I'm joined by two video game veterans to talk about this week's news, address your tweets and emails, and talk about what we've been playing. First up, my guest is Sam Conisbee. Sam has worked at Jinx TV, Bravo and Lipsync, making video game content for TV and the web, and currently runs the video game website Game Central TV. Sam, I've been begging to get you on the show for a while. Thanks for coming on.
Not at all, Guy. It's a pleasure.
Someone's been in and edited my script here.
I don't know who that could have been.
Gremlins
Gremlins in the system, Guy.
So Sam, lovely to get you on the show. You were at the Games Media Awards last week, and you gave when you turned up, I think you crashed the party.
Let's say I was there unofficially.
You were there in an unofficial capacity. Big kiss on the lips.
Always, Guy.
Where is it this
Always.
time?
We're keeping it off mic.
Okay.
Our love scares a lot of people. I know that, Guy.
That's fair enough. Well, thanks for coming on board. My next guest is Neil Gorton, who has worked at Jinx TV as well as True Gits, and has appeared on the podcast as Capcom UK's social and community manager. This time, though, it's just about getting these two guys in a room together to talk about games. Neil, thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Guy Cocker. Hello, Cybernet. Here we are again.
We're in your office this time.
Welcome.
Lovely Hammersmith.
Glamorsmith. It's got a Byron now. It's getting glamorous.
Watch out.
Well-
Upmarket burgers.
Yeah, welcome to my crib. This is where the magic happens.
Has the glamorous Byron Burger actually opened, though? I think isn't it under construction?
It is currently under construction, but
Soon.
you play your cards right, there's a Wagamama's in it for you.
That's good stuff. It's exciting times in Hammersmith.
Yeah, it's on the up.
It's on the up.
I'm just...
Gentrified is, I believe, the term.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up.
Okay, so before we get into the show and talk to these guys about what they're up to, if you've got any thoughts or comments or feedback, please email me on podcast@guycocker.com. Let me know what you think. Please, if you get a chance as well and you listen and you preferably like the show, then leave me a rating or review on iTunes, and let me know if you want me to read your comments out on the show. I will do. Alright guys, so...
Before we move on, Guy, how long is it going to be now before you replace podcast@guycocker.com to award-winning podcast@guycocker.com?
It's actually relatively easy to do, isn't it?
Oh, there you go. I think that's something for next week.
How egocentric and megalomaniacal, if that's the right word.
These are big words for Hammersmith.
How big can I go on this?
Well,
I'd do it.
That's the question.
I'd do it. I'd have done it.
I'd have done it. The night, get the laptop out, changed it on stage whilst accepting.
Whilst waiting, just let everyone wait while I'm changing my email address.
Yeah.
I heard you made quite a good speech. In fact, I heard Guy Cocker use sick burn and it was super effective.
Is that true?
That's what I hear.
I wish you could have seen it, actually.
I wish I could have been
I wish
there.
I could have seen it.
But it's always next year.
I don't know if someone might have filmed it. I don't know, actually. No one's been in touch to say that they filmed it. But I should explain in as less egocentrical way as possible. You guys are the first to be on an award-winning podcast. You may have been on previous award-winning podcasts, but this podcast...
We did say Guy's been trying to get us on the podcast for a while now, and we did say, tell you what, Guy, win an award.
Call me. Yeah. Call me when you won an award, Cocker.
And then you'll be ready for us. So here we are on the award-winning Guy Cocker's podcast.
All right, okay. Before this gets completely unbearable for our listeners, although there's plenty of time for that, let's move on and talk about you guys. Tell me an interesting fact about you both. Who wants to go first?
We've slept together.
Yeah,
which a lot of people don't know.
A lot of people don't know that glorious night in Germany.
Yeah. We shared a bed. It's perhaps more politically correct way to term it. You know how it goes at Gamescom. Everyone's hotels are scattered about, had plenty to drink. And Sam and I were working together on an early Capcom project, as we often like to collaborate. And Sam had been busy editing, I'd been dictating, and said, right, Sam, that's a good day's work, time for you to go back to the hotel. And he refused, and in fact climbed into my bed and refused to leave. So
I'll point out
it wasn't
that
consensual, really.
Well,
once I was in the bed, it was consensual. I'll point out that during the entirety of this working evening, Neil was essentially walking around just in his pants. So
that's where I do my best thinking.
That's always. We've shared a few hotel rooms since then, although granted in separate beds since that night.
You should film this and put it out as a True Gits special feature.
Maybe.
There's probably a market for that.
Who would you say was Big Spoon?
I think we swapped through the night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just a little tap. And,
I mean, you can see how well.
over.
You can see how well. Yeah, we work well together. We spoon well together. They're available for parties.
That's the ideal. That's the ideal partnership. Works well together, spoons well together.
Yeah.
So you guys, for people that might not know about True Gits and your video content, you guys have got stuff on YouTube, and you're continuing to produce stuff. I know you're doing stuff for Game Central TV now, Sam. But
yeah, we are. We're just about to start at the end of this month. We're starting our own content creation, which is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to getting back behind the camera and maybe in front of it. If Neil keeps looking at me like that, yeah, no, it's really exciting. But I mean, the True Gits thing is Neil's baby.
Yeah, it was a proud little thing. I worked in collaboration with Tom Perkins, who's now over at Yogscast. He does their community, and once we were set adrift from the world of Jinx TV, I decided to keep going with content production. We teamed up together. Tom and I had a good little run of it. Just going to gaming events, doing our own style of coverage. It's what, in fact, opened the doors here at Capcom, was just doing coverage of their events. They liked what they saw and invited me to interview.
I think we talked about this, didn't we? Maybe touched on it in the Community Manager podcast about how to get into community management. You said you'd done.
Yeah. It's just you just got to be there and you just got to be keen. But it's kind of thrown a spanner into the works as much as Sam and I's collaboration, because we still like making content. But I'm now contractually obliged to stick within my Capcom quota as much as possible. So.
It's a lot of funny voices, Guy. It's a lot of funny voices and masks.
Yeah.
Really keep the dream alive.
So you guys were filming some stuff for GTA last night. Is that for you, Sam?
Yeah, that's for Game Central. We're doing a series on the most random things and the funnest things that you can do in GTA Online, which, as you can imagine, requires a lot of research on our part.
There's some great series out there actually on GTA. The Mythbusters one is a particular favourite. I don't know if you see it, where they just do stuff that people asking questions. Can you, if you empty your car of all its fuel, will it still explode? And the answer is no. It's some really, I mean, the level of detail on that is crazy. Sorry.
You're right. It, unfortunately, in the course of researching, it has been the first game that's invited me to troll. I don't think I've ever trolled someone in a game before.
No, we can't help it. It's completely unavoidable, because we'll jump in a car and we'll be cruising around and you see someone else and
they're either looking gormless or really showing off, and you're like, I wonder what they'd look like riddled with bullets.
Yeah. If we just literally, so I'll be driving, I'll pursue, and then Neil just leans out the window of his Uzi and the inevitable happens.
We'll talk about what we've been playing in a little bit. But no, I mean, I'm really, I haven't spent enough time with this game, but everyone that has says it's the key to it. Excuse me, is to play it with friends, basically.
You're right there, guy. You
get
a bit quirky, getting a bit like the Emperor from Star Wars.
I think it's just because I had lunch, a down lunch, and had some Coke. Sorry, I won't go into the specifics, but yes, playing with friends is the key if you're going to play GTA Online.
Yeah, it's vital. I think we were talking about this earlier. It's just it's the brilliance of the single player, but you're doing it essentially in co-op.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll talk about it later. If you guys listening want to learn more about these guys, it's well worth looking at the running order document. I've pasted in the bio that Neil sent over the other night. It's available on guycocker.com or in the show notes. Just have a look, and I would highly check it out. I've had loads of emails this week, so let's run on to the feedback. Okay, email time. Are you alright, Neil?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's hear these emails.
Right, emails. Dan Williams says,
Hi, Dan.
Says, hi, Guy. I was interested in the recent podcast discussion regarding colour blindness. I'm slightly green-blue colourblind and occasionally have difficulty with some games, most recently GTA 5. I spent ages playing the game as Michael and heading for map references for Franklin and vice versa, and swore at the screen when I could not find anything at the indicated location. It was only when my partner said, you know, one of them is green and one of them is blue, right? To me, the colours on the map were exactly the same. I first came across a colour issue when playing Peggle. Yes, GTA and Peggle, I can live in both those worlds, where I could not make out the green pegs among the blue pegs, but the game had a colourblind setting which fixed that. If a game as simple as Peggle can do it, I think it's short-sighted, of Rockstar not to devote one of their 1,000 developers to look into this kind of thing on GTA 5. I know they can't sort out colours for everyone in the entire game, but I think the map should have been a consideration. You are right, there are lots of colourblind people out there, and they are mostly male, so you'd think this was higher on the list of considerations when developing a game. That's from Dan Williams.
Danny Williams.
So yeah, this issue I've been mentioning it quite a bit on the podcast. Is any of you guys affected by colour blindness or know anyone that is?
We used to get asked back in our Jinx days when we were together. We used to get asked a lot of questions by random community people, like about the disability settings, and colour blindness used to pop up quite a lot.
It did pop up, yeah.
Yeah,
It's one of those things with games because a lot of stuff now, like exactly like he says, the GTA, the little mission icons in the map. A lot of stuff now that indicates where you're going and what you're doing is colour based now, so I suppose it must be quite annoying for them.
It really is. It's quite a subtle colour difference as well. It's not like one of them is solid, like when you have the icons of where you need to go, it's not like one is solid black and the other is solid white. They're very subtle different colours.
So I know Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure when you're online, the map has a colourblind setting, so it changes,
So anyway, good to
something that can be patched out then, maybe.
Good to hear, and well, not good to hear on the GTA front, but good to hear that more and more people are kind of like Peggle at least. That's PopCap, isn't it? Looking out for this sort of stuff. So yes, thanks for your email. Next up is Simon Breeze. He says, "Hi Guy, just listening to the latest podcast. Good to hear the discussion on teaching kids programming. I'm going to get Scratch for my 10-year-old later. Is that a program or is that?" Scratch.
He's just going to claw at his child.
I'm going to scratch my 10-year-old later. Follow-on question about cross-platform games. Do you know if games will be cross-platform between PlayStation 3 and PS4, or are they as different as PS3 and Xbox? Also, are all games on PS4 going to be 1080p? One more thing, I will advocate for keeping the competitions on the podcast. That was just referencing the fact last week that I was saying I was thinking of killing podcast competitions off. No. So yeah, just from the organisation, it takes unfortunately a long time to first script the podcast.
You need a sexy assistant.
I need
a sexy Scottish assistant.
Not just any assistant.
It's got to be me. Essentially, you need me. Now there's an award attached to the show. I want in.
You want in?
Yeah.
You want to ride the coattails of this?
Yeah, I will ride it until you are ground into the.
If only being an award-winning podcast meant that you got more listeners, that's the thing.
True, or indeed competition prizes. Other publishers. Where are guys' prizes?
You've got me and Neil on the show now, so those
prizes,
those listener rates are going to go through the roof.
To young Simon, as far as I understand, from what I've seen, I mean, a lot of the titles that I've been interested in, they don't seem compatible, because I know that if you buy FIFA and whatnot, you get to trade it.
They aren't though. I mean, you can't put a PS. I don't know. I actually don't know about the backwards compatibility. They don't have it, do they?
Oh, if you put a PS3 disc into a PS4, an angry ghost comes out from the disc drive and scares you.
It's a Kaz.
Yeah.
I like to think it's a hologram of Kaz.
Yeah.
When you started then, I thought you would actually, there was going to be a little ghost on
There's
screen.
going to be lots of them. But no, from what I've seen, I see lots of offers down my local gaming emporium of like, don't worry if you buy it on this gen, you can trade up offers. Yeah.
There's things like Battlefield 4 have got the system where you can convert your progress across to the PS4 version when it comes out.
I actually didn't know about that. I saw today over on just callofduty.com that most people in the US at least will be able to upgrade from PS3 to PS4 or Xbox 360 to Xbox One for $9.99, and in the UK, Game will buy your old copy back for £40 trading value. So it's not too bad, but then again, there's a lot of people, I think, this generation that are moving Xbox 360 to PS4, or vice versa. So it has to be Sony to Sony or Microsoft to Microsoft.
You'd have thought, I mean, especially with the games that are very focused in online, a lot of the stuff's done through clouds now anyway. So, and like online accounts, so you wouldn't have thought it would have been that difficult, but then...
I'll tell you my problem with it is you might be in the same boat. Is like, fair enough, like your average gamer has maybe 6 games in their collection. They buy their FIFA, they buy their Shooty 1, and so they're ready to the other shooters are available. And they're ready to make that jump to next gen, but I've still got a massive back catalogue that I haven't touched. I'm not as ready to rush out and get my next gen just yet. Mainly because I can't afford it.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you wouldn't, and this is a genuine question, you wouldn't get one as an employee of Capcom. They don't provide you with a... No,
I wouldn't. I bought my own Wii U so I could be ready for Monster Hunter.
Right.
Because I wanted to be involved with that. But no, it just... I don't think I'll
I
get
think
one.
it's literally. I mean, in terms of playing games that are coming out on both both generations, it's not something that I'm desperate to do. But some of the exclusives, like everyone everyone is talking about Titanfall and just what
an Xbox exclusive.
The Xbox One exclusive that's gonna change everything. As people keep saying when they get excited about a game being pretty good. But I mean, that's a game that would make me think, maybe I would want to jump into this. And then Infamous Second Son on the PS4, just because I'm a massive fan of the series.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for Infamous.
Yeah.
But my worry is that, like, if I'm not going to be, by the time, if I went out and bought Battlefield at the end of this month, by the time I'm actually ready to buy my next gen console, that offer will have long since expired, so I'll have to buy a full price next-gen copy.
Or maybe if you leave it long enough, you'll get a discounted version. But I think those next-gen games are going to hold that £50 price.
I think they will. I should point out that everyone should go out and buy Dead Rising 3, even if you get a PS4.
Of course,
just keep Dead Rising 3 on the shelf and just think, this could have been.
Just go and buy the disc without the console, because if anything, it'll act as an incentive
to get
back, to go out and buy the console.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your one plug. That's the one plug you're
about. Sorry, Simon, that was a good question.
Several.
Next, sorry.
No, I was going to say it was interesting to hear Simon say about how he's going to go out and get his young son. I will assume that Scratch is a coding program and
must be, get something from scratch for my 10-year-old or something. There's some missing words there. Anyway.
This is where the GMA gets taken away. You should know about this stuff.
It's probably my mistake.
It's just interesting. You could see that would maybe start becoming a thing, because 20 years ago it was the average man, when he had a son, he went out and bought a football and gave it to him. Whereas now it's is this an indication that programmers and devs are starting to become the rock stars for our generation coming through?
It's like, here you go, son. Now become a multi-million-pound indie developer.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so to just answer that question with a story that I saw this morning. I was desperately trying to find it while you guys were talking. So it's Nintendo greenlights crossplay with other consoles. Speaking to Knit Underground, which is a game from Ripstone. Apparently Nintendo's given permission for cross-platform play between Wii U and other consoles. So this does directly relate to Simon's question. Maybe not on the Wii. He didn't really ask about Wii U, but it's possible, I suppose, with more and more stuff being offloaded to the cloud. It may well happen. I think it's an obvious one is between Xbox One and PC. Probably not Xbox One and PlayStation 4, but it could be coming. That story's over on VG247. The title is Nintendo greenlights crossplay with other consoles.
What sorcery is this?
It's crazy. So and then are all games on PlayStation 4 going to be 1080p? I found myself at a Eurogamer.net forum post actually that says Sony is actively pushing for 1080p at 60 frames per second in PlayStation 4 games, but I don't believe it's mandatory. But I expect that 1080p will become the new minimum.
I think so.
Unless you've got something to any insight on this?
No input in this whatsoever.
I'm not 100%. I don't know if they've released too many stats about PS4 games being lower, but there's stuff with the Xbox, like Rise has come out, and that's not going to be 1080. But then you look at Rise, and it does look astonishing. How it plays is up for debate, but it looks amazing. Yeah. So is 1080p not just a marketing number that a lot of people maybe are getting a bit caught up on?
Yeah, it obviously it is. But I think it's one of those things where it's a nice. I suppose a lot of people, unlike the previous generation, when that launched, no one had really. Well, a few people had HDTVs, but I remember specifically buying a HD TV for my Xbox 360. But I think most people do have 1080p displays now, and they want those. Whether it's an arbitrary number or not, they want those displays running 1080p games.
They want to have bought it for a reason.
Exactly.
What you're saying is, if you're thinking about getting Rise, maybe play it safe and get
Dead Rising 3, as we all know, is the game to look for on the next gen. That's Dead Rising 3.
Available 20... What's that?
Launch. It's a launch title. It's coming at you like Cleopatra. That's the box quote.
I was to balance this slightly, I was not impressed with Dead Rising at E3, but really, really impressed at Gamescom. I thought it improved a lot.
I think you need to have a little listen to everyone's feedback. Journalist feedback is just as important as the public's feedback. I think everyone asked for a bit more fun, and I think that's what came out more at Gamescom and indeed Eurogamer.
I asked a question. I asked one of those questions that was like, why can he do... I can't remember what it was. It was something about... Because a lot of people were asking how can a mechanic call in airstrikes and all that sort of stuff. And I asked a similar question about how he learns to do something, and the answer was because it's a video game. And that was one of the best answers that I sort of thought, yeah.
You
Good
bloody
work.
journalists and your questions.
It was a good question. I just can't remember what it was. Anyway, yes, competitions as well. Okay, I better get a competition going. Maybe
I'll sort you out stuff for next week.
Right, okay. Capcom competition next week.
Yeah.
Eric Song, regular emailer, says, hello, Guy and his unnamed guest.
Hi, Eric.
It's been so long since I sent you an email, and I have good reason for this. I've been working in schools, and it's been very busy. I always manage to spare some time every day to play some games, even during my final year as an undergraduate, but postgraduate was a whole different story. I have to say that your podcast is the only gateway to providing game news to me. And talking of your podcast, that's amazing for me, but there are other websites out there.
www.gamecentral.tv. Check it out, Eric. We'll sort you out.
And talking of your podcast, he continues, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to work with Tim Wicksteed. When you read out my email and Tim said he was planning to translate his game Ironage into Korean several weeks ago, I immediately felt the urge to help him in whatever way I can. So I sent an email to Tim to express my interest, and he gave me the strings of the whole game for me to translate. Although all of my friends were surprised about the fact that I'm doing this voluntarily, as am I was so happy because it provided me with an experience that I could use for the industry that I love and get involved in, and I wouldn't have done it without your help. Thank you so much, Guy.
Oh.
P.S. Tim, if you're hearing this podcast, I would just like to say sorry that it took longer than I originally planned. Which is a nice story. I saw Tim at the free-to-play festival a few days ago. He quit his job, usual kind of indie game thing, quit his job to do something risky and make this game, Ironage on Android, and obviously he's been helped out by Eric, which is a lovely story.
It is a lovely story. Well, good for you, Eric. Good for you.
Guy Cocker, facilitator.
Yeah.
Yes.
I often hear that this theorem bounded about these walls that it would be nice to maybe have the community help with translating some of Capcom games. As you know, they stay in the East for a long time before moving over to the West, and translation's a big part of that.
Of course, yeah.
It would be nice to see a rise in this kind of thing. I think everyone stands to win, especially if your games can come over a bit quicker.
It's one of those
Talking
things
of rise.
It's not just about getting the language changed so that someone can understand it as well. There's a lot of stuff with colloquialisms and like the tone and the humours can change quite a lot, and something like that going into a new territory can make a world of difference.
That's interesting. I've always wondered, we were talking about Animal Crossing ahead of the show.
Yeah.
Some of the humour in Animal Crossing, I'm always interested in how that works in its original Japanese, and because that's a really funny game, but I don't know if the characters have those quirks in Japan. Like some of them.
Well, my favourite example is like what's his name from Ni no Kuni, from Pokemon. Remember when you used to watch the original cartoon of Pokemon? James. So Jesse and James. So like James was like quite. When he was shown in cartoon here, he was quite effeminate and he was holding a rose and he had that sort of like goofy voice. But in Japan, like a boy holding a rose is quite like romantic and kind of sexy.
Right.
So like when you're watching it in Japanese, he's quite debonair.
Mario, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird to see how these things translate.
It's often been said that we're the Jesse and James of the UK games industry, isn't it, Neil?
We're definitely the Team Rocket. Or sorry, my response should have been Meowth, that's right. There we go.
My favourite translation story is, I think it was The Witcher 2. I don't know whether it showed up in The Witcher 1, but in The Witcher 2, the fact that all the characters, when they're talking about sex, call it ploughing.
Yeah.
Which, to them, apparently the team over in Poland, like that had heard this and assumed that that's what all English people called sex at all times. It was ploughing. So when you play the game through, it just stands out.
So they thought that the UK, that Brit said ploughing.
That's what they thought Brit said. Ploughing. That was our word for sex.
So Geralt, will you take me in this tent and give me a good ploughing? Yeah, it's quite romantic. Yeah, sure.
The funniest bits are the scenes where they're trying to be romantic and maybe a bit sensual with the conversations, and they just come out with that and
farming terminology.
Has sex in video games ever been done well?
I think I would say some of the Mass Effect stuff, but maybe a lot of people wouldn't. Saints
Row 4, the sex scenes in that are amazing.
I'll give you that.
Saints Row 4 wins.
To to save Eric's question, let's move off.
All right.
Yeah,
well done, Eric.
Thank you for your help. That's awesome. Great. Next email from Graham Mackay says, "Dear Guy, you've asked me to email you my feedback following my tweet, but I didn't manage to find the time before your latest show, which was great. I don't know if my topic will still be relevant, but I want to send it on anyway. So my question was, what do you think the next gen systems would look like if these two things?" I think I've covered this one before.
It's time travelled.
Yeah, I've copied and pasted this one from a completely...
Oh, Graham.
Yeah, no, it's my fault. I think I copied and pasted it. Let's move on. Next email is from Luke Askew, who says, "Hi Guy, given PS Plus's recent offerings, along with the news that Remember Me will be free next month,
great game.
I can't see any negatives in Sony's requirement that it be mandatory to sign up to the scheme for a player to have online functionality. However, in the PS4's first few months, what specifically could be offered on that platform for PS Plus users? I would guess that there will be a free PS4 that there won't be free PS4 games on offer, given how recently they will have been released, and would assume that PS3 games can't be on offer until Gaikai solves the backwards compatibility issue. Would it be a case of continuing to offer free but limited versions of PS4 games with discounts to upgrade to the full game, like they're doing for Drive Club? Great podcast as always," and that's from Luke.
That's a really good question.
What are they going to do in the first few months? So, I'm sure people know, but the background is PS Plus now is £30-35 a year service.
Yep.
You get amazing. I'm not a member, but you get amazing. This month is Remember Me and I've forgotten.
Currently Metal Gear
Rising: Revenge, which came out in February and is highly rated. And
I've been on PS Plus for about.
Longer than me,
yeah. Just over a year now, I think, maybe a year and a half. And I've got, on my PS3, I've now got, I think, 40 games that just arrived from the service. I mean, this month it's got Far Cry 3, which was the game that everyone was talking about at the end of last year, and it's amazing.
It seems to hit that sweet spot of just really great games that actually you might have missed the first time around. I mean, Far Cry was pretty massive, but I would say Revengeance and no disrespect to Remember Me, but Remember Me was kind of overlooked.
Tragically overlooked.
Yeah.
Tragically overlooked. You know what? Give it a go.
Absolutely.
All I can ask. Give it a go.
I mean, even if you look at PlayStation Plus
that's the beauty of it.
Sign yourself onto it, it's a great game. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, you're not.
I'm contractually obliged to defend it to the death,
but
I genuinely think people should just give it a go. I mean, that's what PS Plus is great for. What you got to lose?
The other thing is the auto downloads. The other side of the service that doesn't get all the marketing pushed behind it, that's just really useful, is being able to set a game downloading, and if your internet's not that great, you can set it so your console just turns itself on at 5 a.m, turns away for a little bit, and then switches off. And charges your controller too if you leave it plugged in.
Nice little tip.
Tips.
That's a free tip there.
Free tip for you there. Maybe, but what are they going to offer? Well, I know obviously Vita is vitally important to PS4, so they'll continue offering up their Vita games.
Are you guys Vita owners?
I tragically, as of a few months ago, am not, as I had to make rent.
Oh dear.
But I genuinely miss it.
Right.
I really love the Vita.
I have said I am not buying a PS4 until I have a Vita, so I am really into the idea of getting a Vita, so I will definitely get one, as I will definitely get a PS4.
I just saw, I mean, you've got the 3DS XL on the table.
There it is.
Your love, on the table of that machine, but it's the Vita is, I suppose it's Monster Hunter on Vita, on 3DS, isn't it? There's not much from Capcom on Vita right now.
Not exclusively, no, but that might change. Got Dust Force coming out, January, that'll be on Vita.
I really let him have that one.
That's January.
January 2014.
January.
In the future. That's a good point. What can they offer up for PS4 people? I don't know why we're trying to solve their problems.
I'd be surprised if there weren't some upgrades that they throw in.
I think Drive Club's an interesting one. Because it's a good one to have at launch if you're a PS Plus subscriber. It transfers over and you can play this game Drive Club, but it also says to me that there's not a lot of confidence from Sony in Drive Club, that it might not be up to scratch.
But then you could say that Xbox One, they're doing the same thing with Killer Instinct.
Yeah, true.
Where they say they're giving you a free game, they're giving you 2 characters.
Well, it makes the Xbox, the current Xbox offering. What was the game that they released?
It was Rainbow Six was one of the most recent
Rainbow
ones.
Six?
Yeah.
Rainbow Six Vegas. Was it the sequel? I think it was just the first one. And Assassin's
that was
Creed 2.
2007. That's
Yeah,
like 6-7 years
That
old.
said, I did download Fable 3 when they offered it up.
Oh, yeah.
Because I never completed it first time round. I really appreciated it. Yeah, it's
I'd
good.
love to see the
week.
Fable kingdom that you were all over.
It was a mess.
I didn't like Fable 3, so I'm just...
Well, there you go. I paid diddly squat for it and completed it, and now I'm content. I don't know how to solve that PS4 problem. Maybe we should stop the podcast, phone Holly over at Sony,
find out what's going to be on the agenda.
Secrets.
Get a Skype up, patch her in.
Let's get us going.
That's a really good one. You've really thrown us, Luke.
It's a good question.
Well, it's something for them to announce in the next month, isn't it?
Yeah, what they're going to be doing to keep PS Plus owners happy. I suppose if you've got a Vita, you'll continue to get
They're
Vita.
going to send you an actual real-life sack boy to take care of.
I think you're going to say they'll just send you a Vita. Just keep you going. That'd be amazing. Okay, well, thanks very much for your emails. Send future emails to podcast@guycocker.com and I'll read them out on the next show. Okay, time for the news section. I've picked out the week's big, interesting, and very relevant to me news stories, and I'll ask my guests what they think. Apologies in advance, some of these stories directly are related to me.
Do we just boo and hiss?
This is the section where Guy's ego just
goes, my head goes so big,
explodes out of him
through the door on the way out. Games Media Awards toast new talent and top writers. This is the news story from MCV anyway. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it already and spoke about it enough. I did just want to say thank you very much to people like Neil and yourself, Sam, but Neil, who's been on the show before and who have sort of spent the last 6 months supporting me, and it's been really, really nice to have some recognition of the podcast.
It's a great show.
Thank you. And I was up against some really good people. So thank you very much for all the support, especially the guys that are listening as well. But for you guys, I know, Sam, you were at the event. I was really interested to sort of get a feel for the industry of where they think the GMAs are at this year and the winners. And I know you might have some opinions on this.
I think the Games Media Awards, given previous years, has had a certain light shone upon it. But as I was discussing on the night, I think at the end of the day, if you want to have an award ceremony where you celebrate some of the media, just let them get on with it.
It's an interesting one. I think it's a little bit inside baseball or navel gazing or whatever you want to call it, but the games media is obsessed with itself, and a lot of people have talked about. I think last year especially, it seems a longer time ago than a year ago when the whole Mountain Dew and Doritos and hashtag Defiance thing kicked off.
When people realised that the games industry was an entertainment industry and does in actual fact act like every other entertainment industry. But
there was some fallout around the GMAs last year, and I spoke to a number of people about it, off the record and off the podcast. But some people lost their jobs either directly or indirectly from this whole thing, and it was a lot of people were intentionally this year didn't go to the GMAs because they felt it was they wanted to make a sort of hashtag Defiance statement against it. So what do you think? I mean, do you think it's important? Do you think my opinion? I'll start with my opinion. My opinion is that it used to be voted for by PRs and journalists. I do think that there's a lot of it is popularity within who votes for who.
Rate yourself, Guy.
No, but I think it's a natural that you do get the same people winning again and again, and that's probably one of the downsides of it. But I think that it's great that there's an event that people can go to and kind of congratulate each other and celebrate their success and get drunk, right?
I think that's the thing at the end of the day, is people just need to take a moment and realise that it's highly unlikely that anyone writing in the games media is ever going to win a Pulitzer Prize. It's at the end of the day, everyone in this industry, in the media side of it, is writing about something that they love, that they enjoy, and I think that getting a bit too serious and a bit too caught up in the politics side of it's just.
I think there's two sides to it. There's it's great that we have a little award ceremony, but I mean, if you ran into the streets right now and ran up to some old lady and went, "I'm Guy Cocker, I want a GMA," she wouldn't know what a GMA was, and I hate to say it, guys, she might not know who you are.
Impossible.
So, as an industry, we're very tech savvy, and we follow each other on Twitter, and we've always got an opinion about each other. So it's natural that we want to celebrate, and that's fine. We can celebrate each other, and But again, like in celebrating, like a lot of good things came to light. The Dan Douglas piece, I thought that was great that got a bit more exposure. I know,
and it highlighted a website a lot of people are a fan of, which is Midnight Resistance, that kind of hasn't been awarded before, I think.
True, for some reason they don't like me. I don't know why, but yeah,
you personally,
probably for some reason,
feud you declared against them a few years back.
I must have unwittingly had a knife fight with them or something, but. Fair play to Midnight Resistance. It's great that sites like that exist and they give people like Dan Douglas a voice, and it's great that Dan got his story out wider. I know Average Gamer picked up a dongle as well.
Dongle?
A dongle.
What about an award?
You call it that if you will.
They got best blog.
Yeah, they've done some really great work as well, similar to what Dan's done. But it's just nice that every facet of the industry is celebrated in that night. And
yeah, I think that's it. It's going along, and I've been a couple of times where I've actually been in a couple this year where I was under the radar. It's just nice to be in a room full of whether it's co-workers, colleagues, people who work in the same industry as you, or whatever level, and everyone's just getting on and having a good time and just enjoying being where they are in this industry.
Do you think we're grown up as an industry, or do you feel it's like high school when you go to something like that and like everyone's really cliquey?
It's a mixture of both. I don't know. That was it. I mean, there is. You do get a lot of the cliquey sort of high school thing occurs within this industry. I don't think that's any secret to anyone. But Thursday night, sorry, it was, I don't know, it doesn't feel so much like that.
I've seen it's like Glee, but with computer games. Is that
pretty much? Yeah. But you know what I'm like. Those sort of things.
Still singing.
Can't stop you singing.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting question, Neil. You've been before. I take it.
Never been invited.
I'll tell you what they need to do is just get a bigger venue and make the tickets cheaper. Just let everyone come.
Yeah, because I think
that's not that's stopping me. No one's going to invite me.
If you're a member of the media, if you're nominated, you get to go on for free. But I think they sell tickets. Was it £150?
Yeah, which for 3 cheapo sausages and a little bit of mash, I hear they serve this year.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I'll ever be invited.
Didn't even get celebrities in to present it this time. Just got some group from Edinburgh down.
They did, yeah. The comedy troupe was so in previous years they've had is it Greg Davis from the teacher from the In-Betweeners?
Yeah, and he has been pretty good.
He's very good. Yeah, he was the host, and I think a couple of times, but notably during
he was the host of the Granger Games year.
Yeah, I think my opinion on that is when I wanted to get into the media, one of the things that attracted me to it was the fact that in the media, there's certain bad behaviour and honest, like the previous years that I've loved, there was incredible bad behaviour from Granger Games, and they ashamed themselves. But it was a great story, and it was kind of
it was very funny. I mean, to be completely honest, I think all the stuff that Granger Games did at that would have been acceptable, not acceptable, but they would have just sort of like it would have gone under the carpet and everyone would have just moved on if they hadn't have started heckling people whilst they were accepting their awards. Because the second they started disrespecting, again, as you said, essentially the friends of people, everyone in the room, that was the moment that it turned and
Maybe we all cliqued together.
That actually did. Yeah, unite a lot of people.
We united in our hate.
That and the teenagers in the bikinis was a bit uncomfortable.
And the condoms on the...
That you see again. I thought that was not a brilliant touch of marketing, but it made me laugh.
It's funny. It's funny. A lot of people do like they are crying out. A lot of journalists, at least, crying out for something a bit more legitimate, something a bit more. I dare to say it's not black tie, but
it's a lot of people just they're striving maybe for credibility.
I think that the Pulitzer is possible in our lifetime, but it's for video games.
Yeah, it would have to be a pretty.
Didn't Roger Ebert win it for some film criticism? I think, and so possibly, yeah.
But then that's the other thing as well. When you look at the video games, how long has video games really been going? Like maybe sort of like
10 years,
10, maybe that. 10, 15. No, it's been going for about 30, 40 years, where it's been building to where it is now. Whereas if you look at the
and
film
and written about since the 80s, basically.
Yeah, you look at film, and that's been going for 110 years. 115 years, and has been written about since the 20s and 30s. So, and now, as you said, Roger Ebert is just getting to that point where, people are really developing this stuff and making films that you can analyse like that, whereas games, they're getting close, but...
They've got something to say. I think the Dan Douglas piece gave... they had something to say about games. That was nice that got in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because there is an award I've judged on this award, the Games Journalism Prize, and there's an absolute mountain of really, really good writing out there that is poured over by a team of people and then judged, and then it enters into the next stage and it's read again, and it's and that does exist. So there is a counterpoint to the GMAs now. But to finish the point, I mean, the thing that I like about GMAs is that sort of old school media mentality of a night where, like, remember a couple of years ago, Pat Garrett, who I know again he leads VG 24/7. I've had him on the podcast. I personally like the guy. He divides a lot of opinion, but he got up there and said exactly how he feels and slagged Future off and slagged a lot of other people off, and that's what I like about the GMAs.
Do you, as a journalist, as a renegade award-winning journalist,
You're looking at Sam in this?
It's just word association with renegade. Do you have like a go-to? Do you have go-to writers that you always read everything that they write?
I actually, on a personal level, I watch a lot more video content than I read these days. But I have certain writers that definitely. Either resonate with me or that I don't really like their opinion very much.
That's it. Yeah, I have about 5 that I really resonate with, and that's pretty much all that I'll read unless it's work related.
You've got to give a shout out to our man Arthur Tolmie from Extreme Gaming. He runs a Xbox gaming centre up in Colchester. But he also on his site he'll go to previews and he'll write pieces about games, and I love reading his stuff because he just loves games,
right?
And it doesn't seem to matter what the game is really that you give to him. He will love it, and then that love he'll put down in writing, and you read it, and you can really, even if it's something that you personally didn't enjoy, reading him talking about it is,
and it doesn't come across as too.
That's it as well. It never comes across as sort of like, oh, he's just saying good things for the sake of saying good things. He just seems to genuinely enjoy games.
Right. It's not that he just loves the medium.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the GMAs, I guess. What do you think about the video?
I think it was a travesty that Holly Bennett didn't win it for Access. Mainly just as a friend, but I think the work that those guys have done on Access, because Access has been running for a long time now, but who, with due respect to I think who is it? Is it the Future guys?
It is.
Nathan.
Nathan over Future. I've been talking to him about getting him on the show. Nathan, if you're listening, I'd love to still get you on. But I think he's predominantly based in Bath, maybe.
I think it's the work that they've done, especially in the last sort of six months.
Yeah, they've had quite a rise, especially since the face change when Ollie came on board. They've rocketed up, I know, but
yeah.
There was a lot of stiff
competition.
But
then, Matt's, over at Video Gamer, the stuff that he's gone out a second that Video Gamer put out one of Matt's videos, because all of a sudden that's all you see in your Twitter feed is people saying this is brilliant.
So this is the winner, Video Gamer TV. I think probably did win predominantly for Matt Lees's kind of just funny videos, basically.
Yeah, the E3 conference rundowns were pretty amazing.
Yeah, the awards as well. I think it was Gamescom, might have been E3, where it's I think it might have been E3 actually. The Witcher was winning awards like least likely to be complete arse. Yeah. And they look really happy with it as well, which was really, really nice.
Fair play to them for. I think they put on the promo art, didn't they? Definitely acknowledged that getting that award from Video Gamer. I remember that.
I want to just this is potentially a little bit contentious. But I want to get you because I love the stuff that PlayStation Access do as well. The videos their video reviews are really, really funny.
Right.
Danny O'Dwyer over on Twitter has basically put PlayStation Access, a Sony marketing brand, have reviewed Beyond. They're up for a Games Media Award too, by the way. Hooray! And he said basically it's a 7-minute explanation of how actual reviewers are wrong and why people should trust the team of Sony marketing dweebs. You guys,
Dweebs.
dweebs.
Oh, Danny, back in your box.
Back in your cage.
Steady on, Danny.
He's an angry man.
He's a very
Is this
angry
because
man.
you've left? He's turned feral.
Well, he's put on here as well, referring to the GMA's controversy, which I can only assume relates to my speech. Apparently, the only GMA's controversy was someone using their acceptance speech to bitch about a former employer. Childish and disappointing.
It's
a bit serious.
You were the one who's childish and disappointed.
Have you seen the Access video that he's referring to?
Yeah.
It's essentially the opening 2 minutes, poke some fun at that pretentious, down-the-nose style of reviewing video games. And
Which
I
exists.
Think, it exists. And that's all that's happened is, some people have been called on it. And you can't say that anything that the Access guys, they're having some fun. And why shouldn't they? It's, as he said, it's a Sony game and they're a Sony-backed show. And why shouldn't they come out defending their product?
I think, they had to come up with something. I'm sure they were expecting another Last of Us, which swept the boards with 10 out of 10 out of 10, and it got polarising reviews.
Yeah, the reviews were definitely from like 9 to 4, and I think it landed at somewhere around 7.2, which a lot of people would definitely be happy with. But yeah, it's a big game that we'll go on to the chart in a minute. I think it only went to number 5, but it's...
Well, I mean, it's tricky because I can see what Danny and all his bluster is trying to say, and unfortunately I can also see the Sony point of view, or a terrible way to put it, I guess that's fueling Danny's fire there. The problem is, the way that me and Sam have always looked at games back in our reviewing day is you let the crap speak for itself and you just highlight what's good and the crap will shine through if it's that obvious. What I want to know from a games review is, am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to have fun with it?
Yeah.
And to me, that's all that matters.
I think as well that a lot of game review stuff now is everyone's become so focused on the score and the number, and that's because that's what gets you on a poster. That's what people jump to. The casual reader's just going to want to know a score based on it. Metacritic's come up for that. Whereas people seem to forget that a review is an opinion piece. It's someone sitting down and saying what they felt about a game. And I think that there's two sides of that people maybe, if they read reviews more and understood that, they might establish that it's someone saying this is this game's score, isn't them stating fact. At the same time, there's a lot of reviewers who could do with emphasising that point in their review. They're not sitting down and stating the industry's opinion on something, or they're not sitting down and stating necessarily the company's opinion on something. It is their opinion on that piece.
I disagree. Just to pick up on your point there, Neil, I disagree slightly that Sony didn't know that their game could be polarising. I'd heard early on from people who've been playing it that it could have the potential to not be as great as I'm trying to phrase this correctly, but to get lower scores. I think they had some, whether how far ahead they had that warning, but these big companies do things like mock reviews and that sort of thing.
I'm going to point out I'll point out at this point, I haven't actually played Beyond yet.
Right.
I'm yet to receive a copy.
No one from Sony.
But yeah, to me, reading a lot of the reviews, I've read the lowest reviews and I've read the really good reviews, and it seems that a lot of the polarisation is between people who don't mind being told a story and people who adamantly have to control the story. It's a misinterpretation of it as a game rather than an interactive experience.
Right.
And I think, what they're doing over at Quantic Dream, what they've done with Amnesia and Heavy Rain and whatever that other one was, Fahrenheit, that's it. It's exploring what it's possible to do within this medium.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting, really.
I said that on Explosive Alan's podcast, which I'm on this week. That's a plug for me.
Does that win any awards?
No.
Don't care.
I said that I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that than being bold and trying new things out than another Call of Duty.
I did notice actually on the end of this that after Danny was finished being furious, he made a video where I believe he did say that he was thankful that Beyond Two Souls, things like that, and David Cage exist because it is something else. It's,
Sure.
you know, we
But Guy's not going to mention that because he wants controversy on his podcast.
And that bang of the desk will have come through really loud, and it will emphasise it. All right, that's enough talking about Danny and the GMAs. Let's move on to UK MD of CBS Interactive, one of my old bosses, moving on to join parent company of IGN, Ziff Davis. So IGN's parent company, Ziff Davis, has hired Geoff Innes. He's now going to be IGN's VP and MD. MCV reports that Geoff Innes has a long history at media firms, including Guardian Media Group and Express newspapers. And there's a bunch of the usual CEO statement type stuff underneath. This is from VG247. I wanted to include that on there. Did anything?
I think you're going to be the one who has an opinion about this.
Yeah, no, it's good. I know that. Oh God, I was going to talk to him at. I've forgotten the IGN's previous MD. Do you know him? No, let me Google this. IGN's previous MD moved on to work at Game afterwards in the UK. It was obviously. I mean, you know, Game had a tough year last year, and so it was quite
great for him, did it?
No, so it kind of rose from the ashes, and they hired IGN. Managing director, of which I can't even find. This is really embarrassing for me.
He's become a myth. More than a man.
Can't find his name, but
a legend.
But yeah, I think this is a good move for Geoff Innes, and I had many a sort of instance at GameSpot when I worked at GameSpot in the UK where speaking on a personal level, Geoff was very supportive and had a if I made a massive mistake, I didn't get fired for it, which was good. So it was quite a nice supporting role that he played. But he was managing the entirety of CBS's UK brands, so that was ZDNet, Tech Republic, GameSpot, CNET. So he's just going to do games now, which is interesting.
So in your basement on your GameSpot kill list, his name's not up there.
Geoff Innes is not up there.
Okay.
No. In fact, I should emphasise, legally speaking, that I have no kill list at all.
I always thought it was the setup from Assassin's Creed 3 with just a pyramid of oil paintings of people. Every so often you put a red cross through one.
Every so often. Yeah, anyway, moving on. GTA 5 weekly roundup. UK Games chart first. GTA 5 has reclaimed the top spot, even though in a week of massive new releases, including Pokemon and beyond. So this is really interesting. GTA 5 has risen to the top of the UK charts once more. This is, I should say, from VG247, following defeat at the hands of FIFA 14 for the last couple of weeks. Newcomers Pokemon X and Y and Beyond Two Souls have fared well, but haven't managed to topple Rockstar and EA's battle for first. So the top 5 is Grand Theft Auto 5, then FIFA 14, then Pokemon X, then Pokemon Y, and then Beyond Two Souls. There was another new entry in here that didn't do so well. I'm just looking for it. I can't remember which one it was.
Zelda the week before?
Zelda was the week before.
Yeah. Dragon's Crown?
No. Yeah, I'm probably just getting really confused. So what do you think? I mean, Pokemon.
I'd like to start by bringing upon myself the wrath of the games industry by saying, can you really call Pokemon X and Y new games? Really?
Isn't this the first time they've gone in 3D? And
3D, there's roller skates.
Yeah, the roller skates.
Yeah, but really?
You're not.
And why are there 2 of them? What's the difference?
Slightly different exclusive Pokemon.
Unless you trade them with someone who's got another game.
What?
You're not taking with it, are you? You're shaking in disbelief.
It's just what strikes me as one rule for one, another rule for another. Like, all you ever hear is people in this industry going on about Call of Duty putting the same game out every year, but Nintendo do it and love them.
Because everyone, I don't know if everyone loves this game has seemingly taken traditional gamers by storm. I mean, not massive. I don't know what the sales figures are, but went in at number 3 and 4, so it's not a number 1 game. But then again, it could have split sales, I suppose, across the 2 titles. Good. What do you think? You're playing it, aren't you?
I am playing Pokemon Y. I chose that over X because I feel Pokemon Y asks the more existential question. Pokemon, why? Why? It is my first Poke adventure.
So why get into this one? What was the... Just because everyone else was playing it?
Literally because everyone else was doing it, and that's
peer pressure
drives me. I'm weak, guy. I'm weak. I don't have Danny's fire.
How often do you check back on your Animal Crossing town these days, Neil?
I lost my 3DS.
So you don't.
No, there's a story to this.
You don't.
There's a story. There's a story, right? I misplaced my 3DS for a period of 3 weeks, and it was returned to me, which was great. And I was really scared to go back into my Animal Crossing town because I knew all the residents would be really angry with me and give me some old chat about how I hadn't been around for a month.
And you couldn't really be bothered.
So I've left it. I've went on a new adventure. I've got some Pokemons, and I'm going around and I'm fighting Pokemons. As Guy said off podcast before we started, we were chatting. Japanese games like this, you have to have a suspension, a sort of disbelief of just sort of going along with this world, but it doesn't quite sit right to me. Like, you're a 12-year-old boy.
Right.
Your mum is like, right, time for an adventure. I want you to go around the coast of the land, do a lap.
On your own?
On your own.
12 years old?
Well, you've got a Pokemon with you, so she's fine with it.
A wild animal.
Yeah, but it gets
born
better.
and bred to fight.
Right, so you imagine this, right?
Right.
You're 12-year-old Sam.
Okay.
Your mum sends you off with the family dog.
Right, so Tuesday.
Yeah. And you walk around the coast of Britain, and everyone you meet is like, "Oh, hi there, Sonny. You're new in town. Let's fight. Let's have a dog fight." And so, like, you've got to use your little pet to like fight everyone, and everyone wants to fight you, and it doesn't sit right with me. It's a bit weird.
The Pokemon, they evolve.
Yeah.
Right, so they get bigger and stronger and nastier, and
that's
judging by the promotional artwork I've seen, they start looking a lot meaner too, and a lot more grizzled.
Some of them do, but this is the other thing that really weirds me out is, like, one of you starting Pokemon, the little fiery dog, I changed his name, Fennekin or something like that.
Right.
It evolves into like a sort of like human, girly looking furry thing, and I'm like, I can see where this is going. So I got rid of that. Got rid of that. I'll stick with Pichu, because Pikachu's not going to change into anything like creepy.
Because he's the mascot. He is.
Yeah. No harm can come to Pikachu, but yeah, it's.
So as you said, some suspension of disbelief.
Why
is this 12-year-old boy going cockfighting around the land?
Essentially, yeah. I think had it not been my first Pokemon, I'd have been more accepting of it. But I am liking it. I'm enjoying it. It'll keep me going until the next time all the cool kids are talking about something.
Yeah,
I've got to have it.
And I was just going to get to that. Sam was sort of hinting at that Neil will just jump on whatever Nintendo bandwagon is rolling into town every time.
And why not? Why not? They're fun. I'm sure they're, people enjoy them for a reason, that they're fun and entertaining games. It's just stop.
That is
trying to pretend that it's not the same thing it was last time.
Alright, so Grand Theft Auto, you were enjoying Grand Theft Auto, we were playing it together.
Yeah.
Good games. I have found myself switching to online now because I don't want the single player to end. I've become quite attached to all three characters.
Yeah. And
I'd rather just endlessly continue my online adventure rather than have that game come to an end.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. But I think that's the thing that you can point out is, you look at Grand Theft Auto 4 as a game, and the majority of the criticism that was levelled against it was, this has gotten really boring. Like, this isn't Grand Theft Auto, this is just me running around the city, taxiing people and just doing ordinary things.
Having a girlfriend and to take care of your brother.
Whereas where GTA 5, I think, has just taken everyone, not necessarily by surprise, but everyone's loving it so much, is because they've put the silly back in. I mean, within an hour of playing, I was in some drug-induced trance, mini-gunning down aliens in the middle of a square somewhere, and it was, brilliant. GTA's back properly.
Did you find it really weird? Sorry if I'm spoiling this for anyone that's listening. It's not that far into the game. But did you find it really weird when you finally met Laszlo? Like, you've known him since Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City? Like, Laszlo's been that radio personality that's always had a show.
I found it weird because I interviewed Laszlo ahead of the release of the game, and I met
journalists.
Finally.
Well, what opinion can you have on this, journalist?
So I met him, and then
you were not a gamer.
But he wouldn't talk about his involvement in the game. So I was really happy when he turned out.
Because
again, it's a spoiler, but his involvement in the game is really fun.
Does he look as he looks in game?
No, he's not as creepy looking in real life. He's got a ponytail, hasn't he, in the game? Yeah. So, but yeah, he looks quite different. He's a cool guy. He talked about going to a I can't remember quite where it was, but a vegan strip club and what that entails. I think it was somewhere like Oregon.
That is pretty much straight out of Grand Theft
GTA.
Auto. Yeah.
One of my favourite ones was finding Packy McCready from GTA 4. And that's, again, it's not something that they've worked into the game. It's one of the random events that pops up.
Yeah.
Is two guys fleeing from a job, and if you help them and give them a ride, you realise that one's Packy, and then he can come on the all the heists with you.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun.
And when it's really spoilerific, but when Trevor's introduced to the game, one of the characters
I really like Klebitz as a character. He's one of my favourite protagonists, and to go out like that, it's all it feels. I didn't know what to make of Trevor when we first started.
It's a masterstroke, because it's just immediately within minutes of meeting this character, you just realise
you know what he is.
Don't mess about with Trevor.
I'm also doing a bit of Beyond. I got to admit, I'm only about 2 hours in. I thought, as a sequel to Whip It was a strange move for Ellen Page. I'm really enjoying it. I'm only 2 hours in, mind. I'm liking where it's going. I was a bit worried in the state of this whole hoorah on the polarising reviews that it was going to be a bit like press A to game. Because Heavy Rain did not appeal to me at all. I just thought it was like a tech game. Like, I wasn't prepared to give it the time of day. But I sat down in front of this. Perhaps it's because I really like Ellen Page as an actress. Give it the benefit of doubt, and I'm really enjoying it now. Cool. So I'm really curious to see where that goes.
So you're going to keep playing it and carry on with it?
I
can't wait to start playing it when I get a copy.
I remember being drawn to Remember Me because it was polarising as well.
Really?
Yeah, I'm more interested again. It's that people like and hate rather than just that straight.
You kind of like to know where your opinion sits
no one
within the
hated
spectrum.
Guy, no one hated that game. They were just either right or they were wrong.
So with I really loved Heavy Rain, and I thought that Beyond, from what I played so far, hasn't really sort of lived up to it. But I'm still going to play it.
I may dig out Heavy Rain on the back of this then, if that's.
It's a really good story in Heavy Rain, I'd say. It did.
I can't tell if you're taking the mic.
No. Heavy Rain was Heavy. I think I played through it enough that I saw like 5 of the different endings. I think
you played through it again and again.
Yeah. Wow. It was me and girlfriend at the time. Literally, she really enjoyed it, so I played it through with her a couple of times because we wanted to see the different endings. And I think I heard a lot of people had the same thing where if they were playing it with a partner, there was arguments broke out if anyone moved on a bit. It's like watching the next episode in a box set or something. But yeah, it's. I thought it was brilliant, so I'm really interested to see.
I had exactly the same experience with my wife. She loved watching it, but it's notable that Beyond has this second player can help as well. Lots of actually really the little touches that sort of pander or appeal to less hardcore players, where you can play it with your mobile phone. Even you can play it with an iPhone if you want to. But that does sort of is testament to the fact that it is press A to game. Really, it's just a tap on a screen to make the story move on. But anyway, that's been talked about a lot. We'll talk about games we've been playing later on in the show. But GTA 5, another news story before we wrap this one up. GTA 5 has already beaten Black Ops 2, Skyrim, and FIFA 13's lifetime sales over on Amazon. Amazon have just celebrated their 15th birthday, which in itself is quite shocking and surprising. They've said that they've released their top 10 of everything, basically top 10 games, top 10 albums. It's all Adele, basically. Top 10 songs. I think that can.
It's all Adele.
It's all Adele. It's all gone Adele.
Adele's the only reason there's still a music industry.
Actually, the number one song was Killing in the Name. Remember that campaign to get its number one?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yes,
enjoy that.
That was good. Anyway, the top 10 list consists of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, then the original Black Ops, then Modern Warfare 3, and then straight in at number 4 after a few weeks on sale is Grand Theft Auto 5, which is sort of
that's
in the all-time
crazy.
biggest sellers. So it's pretty much, Amazon said it's pretty much guaranteed to get to number 1.
Well, it was. I went to. I think it was the game at Hamleys. Bizarrely enough, living in London is my nearest game store these days.
Do you live in the very centre of London, or are you?
No, I live
top
of Centre Point, like
south. It's impossible to find anywhere that sells games around me.
I forget there's a game in Hamleys even.
I tell you what, you haven't experienced discomfort until as a man in his mid-20s who has a beard walking into Hamleys on your own, you get some looks. But yeah, literally head down, straight down to the game section.
This is very London centric. So apologies for regional listeners, but
Hamleys is a big toy shop. That's where I'm going with this.
But yeah, no. My complaint was that it's hard to find a game in London now. It's really hard. I mean, you have to go to the Westfield shopping centres or Hamleys, basically.
It's crazy. But I went down there on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday that it launched? The day it launched.
It launched on Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday, I went down there at 11:30, so it wasn't even like it was lunchtime or anything, and there was a queue of maybe 25 people.
Really?
Stood waiting, every single one of them just to buy Grand Theft Auto. And it was, so did you never see.
Did you queue up and get it and persevere, or did you just go?
I went and played with the toy helicopters for a little bit until it gets down.
Giraffe, yes! I stood in game for just over an hour.
Yeah,
to get Grand Theft Auto.
Seems like you guys are supporters of our retail or our traditional bricks and mortar.
You are welcome, retailers.
Were you not just tempted to get it online or get it delivered?
I did me Pokemon online.
Okay,
it
was raining. I thought, no.
Wow. I always go and buy stuff these days.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't like to. I don't know whether it's that I don't like to plan that far in advance to pre-order something, but I just go on a whim. I'll go and get that now.
I like talking to people.
I don't like talking to people in game.
What can you upsell me?
Who must? I go. The guy, bless him, doing a very good job. Obviously, what he's been told to do, but he must have spent a good 8 minutes riling through the list of things that he'd been told he had to try and sell me, and he just stood there just going, no, I don't want the guidebook, no, I don't want the special edition guidebook, no, I'm not that interested in a map, that's brilliant, if I buy your special edition I get an extra hat or something.
Yeah, I think it's a blimp or something. Yeah.
I just wish there was a button you could press when you walked in that was just, I just want to buy a game.
Yeah, I think to be fair, you do get that at the post office now. You get that like trying to sell you travel insurance. You just want to send a letter.
Just stop
It's not just games.
Stop it, retail.
That surprises me actually that Hamleys would allow them to sell Grand Theft Auto. Because Hamleys is a kids' toy store.
It is tucked down in the basement off to the side.
I don't think it's even called game. It's just the Skylanders zone. And
yeah.
Just under the desk, there's like Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto. There you go.
So you bought it essentially that game and did the whole launch day thing, really?
Yeah, went home, put it in, turned my email off, and said
to the PA, hold my calls.
It was it was a fun day. Getting stuck into a game like that's always fun.
Okay, well, we'll talk about GTA afterwards, but if you want to have a look at Amazon published this list, I think it's available over at Amazon. Okay, Spencer, this is Microsoft Spencer. This actually, we should have mentioned this earlier. Phil Spencer, I keep saying Spencer. Phil Spencer from Microsoft has dropped a big hint that the Xbox One will allow gamers to play competitively against PC users online. When asked by OzGamers about whether the shared architecture between the console and PC, as well as the increasing use of cloud tech, could facilitate such functionality, Spencer replied, "I'm not allowed to leak things," with a smile, "but I think what you're talking about makes a lot of sense."
What sort of smile are we talking here? I think this is
a key piece of information to this story.
Is it a wide grin, a smirk,
with a little wink as well? It's not detailed, unfortunately, in this story. But yeah, that goes back to the story we were talking about, the question we were talking about earlier. Next news story is Wii U UK sales spike 685% upon Zelda launch. So something can be said here about what's 685% of not very much. So it's still not very much, I don't think.
It just sends the message, you're Luigi, no. Give me Zelda.
Give me Zelda, exactly. So sudden improvement follows the debut of the Wind Waker HD, which went in at number 4 on the all formats chart last week. The Wii U has had a terrible 9 months, with Nintendo attributing a lack of awareness and an absence of major software to the poor sales. You're a Wii U owner for Monster Hunter, you said?
Yeah.
Have you stuck with it? How often would you say you play Wii U?
I'm not going to say it's an even split between the three, because that wouldn't be true.
The developer of Watch Dogs said that the Wii U version will be the best of the current gen.
Has he indeed?
Yes.
I'll have words.
That he has.
I am using the e-store of all things. I never grew up with a Nintendo, so a lot of Capcom back catalogue has ended up on the e-store. So
of course,
I'm doing a bit of Final Fight, doing a bit of Breath of Fire. I use that more. I still have Zombie U sitting there ready to go, which I've been itching to get a shot of, but my pile of shame is almost as big as I am.
Yeah.
So. But
I think it needs it needs some more original games. It needs someone to use the tech for what it can be used for, and it's again just it's not even a new Zelda game. It's an old one.
It's amazing. I was really surprised it went in at number 4. A lot of HD remakes from Sony for the PlayStation 3 are just
don't hear of
again. You know, even like Shadow of the Colossus and that sort of stuff. But this has done really, really well.
Wind Waker was a classic though.
I love Wind Waker.
And not a lot of people played it because of the console it came out on.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm not ready to go back and play it again. I don't know about you, or buy a system to play again. But I think the good Wii U games are coming at the end of the year. I mean, you would say that Monster Hunter, I'm sure, is a good Wii U game, but I'm talking about Mario Kart and what's it called? Super Mario 3D World. Or
Mario.
Do you know what I want to see more than anything is Nintendo put out a new IP.
Yeah.
Like, because what have we seen on the Wii U? Mario.
Pokemon, not Pokemon.
Pikmin. Lego City, but Lego City, was it Nintendo or was it?
Yeah, that one was exclusive to Wii U.
But that is not
the chain.
But it's a Lego game.
But it's a Lego IP.
But it's a Lego game which has been being done for years.
It's developed by TT. I think it's published by Nintendo.
Yeah, I just want to see them go back and say pretty much 80% of the recognisable gaming icons there are now are ours.
Yeah.
That have been there since the 80s. Let's do something new.
Something new, yeah.
Everyone would want to see that.
Yeah, their big new properties for the last generation with Wii were Wii Sports and Wii Fit, really.
Yeah, which it's not.
Isn't the balance board coming to Smash Bros?
Yeah. Personal trainer.
And they're releasing that as a free-to-play game next month, I think. So for Wii U. Any more to add to this at all? To the news? Any other stories that you've seen?
Certainly not. I don't know what you're digging at, journalist.
I'm not getting at anything, but is there anything that's sort of, Wii U related or any stories you've seen this week that you want to talk about?
Wii U's good. Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. At Christmas time,
on it.
Yeah. At Christmas time, go around your mate's house. It's got a Wii U. You're gonna love it.
If you can.
I like the Just Dance use it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is you've no idea.
Because you stand back. Because the person with the touch controller can mix it up.
Yeah, and it's just a fun way of sort of making it a party game. And I think at Christmas as well, when everyone's sitting around watching shit films and EastEnders depressing themselves, it's nice that you'll be able to play off the TV on the pad.
That good old tradition. Well, thanks for your input on those stories, guys. You can find out more detail about those stories. It will all be available in the running order document, which is available on my site. Okay, what we've been up to this week. Time to talk to my guests about what we're up to in the moment, what they're playing, what's on their radar, what might be of interest. I've put in here more Infinity Blade 3, but the real thing that I've been playing with this week, which I haven't brought in stupidly, is the 2DS. Where do you guys stand on the 2DS?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
why not? No, seriously, I understand it completely. I know Nintendo fanboys can be really precious, and they're like, "What is this thing?" But it's clearly something that's been brought out if you've got younger kids. You don't want to give them a 3DS because even my sausage fingers are capable of breaking and dropping this, whereas the 2DS seems much more sturdy. It makes perfect sense to me as my first Nintendo handheld console. I don't think they can market it that way, but I think that's its clear use.
My review while I've been talking to you guys on the podcast has now gone live on Stuff Magazine's website, and I have been really harsh on it and given it 2 stars out of 5.
You monster!
It's not actually. It should kind of is one of those things I always want to caveat scores and say it's this and it's that. I would never. It's how much cheaper? I think £60 or £50 cheaper, depending on where you buy it. Than £60 cheaper than the 3DS XL. But for me, the 3DS XL is such a great machine that it's the definitive. It's the definitive experience.
Make it so it could fold.
Because it's
so you can't snap it.
So I think if you put yourself in Nintendo's shoes. What they did was they had a problem when they launched the 3DS originally, which was all that bad press around that 3D not being suitable for kids.
Right.
And there is a warning on the back of the box in the documentation that says don't allow kids under 6 years of age play with the 3D functions because their eyes are still developing and it could cause them damage. I'm not sure how plausible that is, but that's what it was. So they've suffered from this ever since, and the 2DS is suitable for all. So it's the first time that the 3DS console is confusing because it sits in the 3DS family. So a 3DS console has been suitable for kids. So you follow that down the line, you start to go, well, if it's suitable for kids, let's make it a really kid-focused machine. So let's make it so that it can't fold. And we've got the 3DS XL in the room here. Yeah. You can put a good amount of pressure on that hinge without it feeling like it's going to snap. But
you didn't put pressure. You can feel my 3DS,
but don't put. But you don't put too much pressure on. But it was certainly never a problem that I came across. But if you go online and put 3DS broken hinges, it apparently is an issue for clumsy or young children who do throw these things about.
But my point would be, this is brilliant for a podcast, but how big is it roughly? So I've got a point of reference.
So the screens are
2 palms, isn't it?
Yeah, the screens are the same.
It's essentially the same. It's just locked.
No. The screens are a lot smaller on the 2DS than they are on the 3DS XL.
It's smaller than that.
It's smaller than that. Yeah, the screens are the same size exactly as they are on the original 3DS. I'm getting lost and confused myself here, but the original 3DS's screens were really dim. If you go back to them now after the XL, they look awful. They look horrible.
Do you remember the launch of the 3DS? Being challenged to that fight by Blue.
Yeah.
What happened? Blue the band or Blue?
We found our way into the upstairs VIP area of the 3DS launch party, and on our way up there was former boy band. They're former?
They're still. I saw them on that big reunion show, which I somehow managed to catch when I was back home.
They're former. No one cares anymore, Blue. Just let it die with a bit of dignity. They were there talking to someone. We were trying to get past. They were being very
difficult,
very pushy D-list celebrities that they are, which doesn't really hold a lot of sway with Neil and myself.
You don't respect the Blue.
We don't respect the Blue.
You don't respect Duncan James.
Respect
Anthony Costa.
I respect the work that he's doing for badges, but
it all got a little bit pushy and shovey, and things were said, and
it's a bit like that Anchorman fight.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, literally.
Right, really.
Yeah,
completely.
Neil got a trident out.
Anyway, back to the rather than our celebrity scuffles. Back to the 2DS. Get them while they're young, because imagine giving a 6-year-old a 3DS.
I think it's brilliant.
Check out this thing, Mario. What's Mario, Dad?
That's it.
Someone who doesn't know.
It's perfect for the young kid. Give it to the young kid, and he can learn to love Nintendo or whatever and Mario games. But if it's locked, how portable is it at that point?
I will say, I'm looking at the pictures that I took actually on my bench outside my house, weirdly. But yeah, it's a lot smaller than it looks.
Okay, right. I'd focus more on that because
is Monster Hunter available for it?
Good game. This is a crucial point from my review.
Right.
They've moved the start and select buttons, which sit either side of the home button. This is getting really technical. I'm sorry if this is boring to listen to, but the start and select buttons sit either side of the home button on all 3DS consoles. On the 2DS, they've moved them up next to the XYAB buttons, where they could have put, crucially, a second control stick. And that would have made it perfect for Monster Hunter.
He's got a good point.
And I don't understand why they didn't do that, because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And you can't play Monster Hunter or Resident Evil Revelations or...
he's on brand.
Even Kid Icarus with
even
any...
Resident Evil 3D The Mercenaries.
Because we can still play them, obviously, but they're better with the second stick. And it's got a mono speaker. This is a smaller point. It's got a mono speaker rather than stereo speakers. And you can take 3D photos, but you obviously can't display them. And the D-pad doesn't feel quite as nice as it does on the other 3DS consoles. And so for all these reasons, actually, and I said at the time, so Stuff Magazine, for which I reviewed it, had given the other 3DS consoles 4 stars. I love the 3DS. I take it everywhere. It's in my bag with a Street Pass, hopefully. Great, absolutely amazing games on that system. But it's getting more and more problematic, Nintendo's online and multiplayer. We were talking about it at the show, but their policies whereby everything's locked to a console. So if I lose, I'm constantly afraid of losing my 3DS. I'll give a shout out to Matt Carmen over at Cayman, sorry, the thing he hates. Matt Cayman over at who writes for the Observer Tech Weekly. He lost his 3DS and lost all his purchases and lost all of his Street Pass progress and.
That's madness.
It's mental, isn't it? You pick up a phone. I'm used to changing phones quite a lot of time, or tablets, or your Vita, your PlayStation Vita even. If you lose that or move it, all your stuff, you log in, it all comes down.
But what if you break it? What if you have to buy another? Like, what if something like the screen cracked or something? You're like, I have to get another one now.
That might be a warranty claim. It might help with that. I don't know. Please write in if you've had that happen to you. But
Shibata, if you're watching,
yeah, get in touch with the show. Let us know. But I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if you break it honestly, and Nintendo will help you. I don't know, but. For now, if you lose it, you lose everything.
If you have one for say in 3 years' time, you've had one. You've been playing Monster Hunter 3D all that time.
Now.
Hundreds of hours piled into it. Your warranty's gone. You haven't got insurance on it, and it breaks.
Some people rack up 600 hours plus on that.
600 hours.
Speaking of Shibata, did you see his karaoke singing? On the Nintendo Direct.
No, I didn't.
It's good. He was doing a bit of Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Nice.
Have you tried the Wii U karaoke?
I haven't. I've done it.
Very strange licensing. Doesn't have things like Katy Perry and stuff like that.
Which game are we talking about here?
The Nintendo Wii U karaoke.
Oh, okay. No.
So you download that, free trial. Doesn't have the sort of things you'd expect, but it does have things like Korn and Limp Bizkit and everything.
It's like Slayer and Pantera and stuff on it.
They're all on there.
Ridiculous.
You'd expect more kid-friendly stuff.
I'll tell you what though, I do want to see some videos on the internet of like 6-year-olds singing death metal songs into their Wii U.
I think though, I'm just reading back. I'm still listening to you guys. I'm just reading my review back. The Street Pass stuff is brilliant, isn't it? I really like. Everyone loves that stuff. So it's not all bad on the connectivity and social front. It's just that constant fear of losing your
2 stars, says journalist Guy Cocker.
Yeah,
2 stars.
Yeah, I do.
Award-winning journalist.
Award-winning journalist now. Yeah, I don't hold back. You got to watch out, guys. All right. So, what about you guys? I've talked about 2DS. What are you guys playing?
Oh, I've led the charge. You can go first.
What have I been playing? I've been working a lot, to be honest, this last couple of weeks.
You're a busy man.
I've been very busy. We're over at Game Central. We're on the cusp of launching a very big competition that we're excited about. Where we're going to be setting live a trivia challenge on the site, which is going to run for a while. And at the end of the time, whoever scored the most points in the trivia challenge will be winning $10,000.
Nice.
Straight in their hand. I'm hoping that whoever wins it is going to use it to build their ultimate gaming den that I will then get to visit whenever I want. But yeah,
it's also near to you, that lives near to you as well.
Hopefully.
Are you suggesting I should enter?
Get in on it.
Right, okay.
Alright, I'll point out now that it's been structured in a way where even if I now sat down to play it, I wouldn't necessarily be able to win it. But yeah, that's exciting. So there's a lot of work's been going on with that recently. But in the evenings, I've been doing a lot more GTA Online now that the problems have settled with it.
Have they now?
I've not. I mean, I've never had any issues with it, but I've stopped hearing stories about people losing characters and all that sort of stuff. I've also been playing a lot of FIFA Ultimate Team on the new FIFA 14, which I've never gotten into Ultimate Team before. But
Watch
it
out.
is the virtual equivalent of crack. It is unbelievably addictive. It's mainly, I suppose, if you like football, but you probably struggle with it if you hate it.
If you hate football, yeah, you're probably it's not going to be for you. It is. It's one of the most successful, profitable things that EA's done. It's crazy.
It's a very, very cleverly worked system.
Are you a fan? You're not a.
The way or the area that I grew up, it was safer not to side with any one football team in particular. So I have grown up with no love of football. Therefore, FIFA does not really appeal to me, unfortunately. I have been doing a lot of gaming. I mean, I've discussed GTA, Two Souls, Pokemon. For work, I mean, as part of my job, I have to do a bit of content creation. So I've been back into Dragon's Dogma, which is currently free on PS Plus.
Dark
Arisen, yeah.
For this month,
and then that goes and Remember Me comes in instead. And I'm also doing the new Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies for work as well. So
I should probably shout out that I played some Assassin's Creed Black Flag on the PS4.
Yeah.
Which I love the Assassin's Creed.
At Eurogame or just?
No. This was just that way that us people get to play games sometimes. But But yeah, I loved it. I love the Assassin's Creed games. I thought the naval sections were the best part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's the PS4, the game running on it looks incredible. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We've also got to do WWE.
Oh yes,
yeah. There was an event, wasn't there, on Friday? Yeah.
Some people have FIFA. Some people have the CODs and Battlefields. Like every year, I know what I'm getting into. It's just WWE.
These guys are fist bumping.
I wasn't like I obviously the license has changed. They've gone over to 2K. Like no one was expecting 14 to be a game changer. It's pretty much the same mechanics. It's like a second Christmas. I don't know. Just leave me alone. Don't judge me that I'm doing pro wrestling. I'm quite happy with it. I'm definitely getting that one when it comes out.
A lot of this is that obviously me and Neil had a great deal of affection for wrestling in the, when was it, like the late 80s, 90s, yesterday.
So classic characters.
Yeah, during the Attitude Era, and I think it was a lot of these sort of preview events that you'll go to. People don't really seem to like to talk very much because they're working a lot of the time. So they'll sit headphones on and making notes, seeing what they've got to see. Whereas at this event, it was a silent room except for me and Neil sat in the corner screaming at one point.
All the catchphrases.
It's just, it was a lot of fun.
So so it's still developed by Ukes.
Yep.
Published by 2K now rather than THQ.
So it's now WWE 2K14.
Of course.
As they are wont to do.
Yeah. And so you said it's pretty much like they're in a holding pattern right now. Maybe there'll be a new engine next year or something. Or...
Yeah, I think so. I mean, by the time
there was a wink and a nudge about the next gen there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Not necessarily for this title, but obviously it's a yearly thing, so...
It's coming. They had to get it out, and
is the Rock the cover athlete?
Yes,
he is in this one, and there is
there
is old Rock, there is current Rock, there's
somewhere in
between Rock.
Undertaker's the character I think they're pushing a lot this year.
Right.
So there's modes built in where it's either because Undertaker in wrestling, I don't know how many years it is, but at WrestleMania
there's 21. You said it.
I think 21, 22. He
never
same, loses.
Is it the same guy?
Yeah.
He never loses at WrestleMania, so they put a mode into the game where you can either play as Undertaker and go through all of his matches at WrestleMania, or you can go in as whoever he played as an attempt to beat and break his streak, which is...
We know how it sounds.
Yeah, we know exactly how it sounds.
And we don't care.
We do not care what you've got to say about it. It's fun, and that's why it's called sports entertainment. So we're both very much looking forward to that one.
What about UFC? That EA's coming out with that soon, aren't they?
I just want them to show us something.
Yeah.
I'm a very big UFC and MMA fan.
Okay.
I've followed the sport for about 5 years now, since it was really first sort of starting to come onto the scene. I loved the THQ published UFC games.
They were good.
They were just fun. Me and my mate used to sit and just play match after match for hours on those. Because unlike a lot of beat 'em up games produced by certain other publishers, I'm getting a very dirty look right now. I don't like fighting games that focus on combos and learning stuff like that. Whereas those games were built in a way where it was about reacting and putting together your own sort of little moves and things, and that made them a lot of fun. And then obviously everything happened with that, and EA's now got the license, which seems like the natural move given how big the sport's getting. But they've got to show something that's not pre-rendered trailer or something.
Sure, actually, it's been. I don't know anyone that's played it.
Because if it's built into that EA MMA game that came out a while ago, it's built into that engine. No comment.
Well, you can have it wasn't amazingly well received, was it?
No, it was. You could see what they were trying to do with it, but it was very much a first attempt at something like that.
They need, to be honest with you, they probably need that under their belt to then move on and learn from that.
I've extremely high hopes, but again, they've got to show something.
Anything else that's on your radar? We'll talk about the games that are out this week, but anything on your radar?
I was just looking down your list of stuff that is coming out this week.
We can move on to it because there's obviously we're getting into Call of Duty in a few weeks' time. I don't know how excited you get about Call of Duty, but that's another big release. So this week anyway, we have Skylanders Swap Force, which is not an 06, I put 06 in the running order. 86 on Metacritic on PlayStation 3.
Can you imagine if a game ever scored 6 on Metacritic?
It would be just unanimous
Can
hatred.
you imagine?
Wonder what the lowest ever is. I'll have a look after the show. 84 on Xbox 360, so Swap Force is still doing really, really well. So a much loved game, actually, I have to say, Skylanders.
Yeah, hands up. We'll be getting it.
You like it?
We'll be getting it. Me and the missus sit and play Skylanders. I have 2 of the... Unfortunately, on my travel, I've got 2 of the limited edition sets that you get from E3 and
From E3 and GameSpot, me too,
yeah. They're not allowed out of their packaging.
Right.
She's never let me open them.
You can still use them in the packaging, though.
Yeah.
I think were we in the same demo again at E3, and he was talking about that. But
Probably.
these ones, the Swap Force, you need to swap them. That's the whole idea. You got
nervous.
Yeah.
I will be getting it. Definitely one for Santa list, I think.
It's a good game. It's from what I played, a very good game. Then The Wolf Among Us, which is the new game from Telltale. You guys haven't
got it yet. It's on the list.
I just finished The Walking Dead.
Still
not finished yet.
Award-winning journalist Guy Cocker.
Chapter 4 I'm on.
If they if Telltale can bring the feels, as it were, like they did with The Walking Dead, then everyone's gonna go nuts about it and be all
and generally
this
happy.
is brilliant. I love being told a story as long as it's these guys telling it and not that French guy.
It's a good point. I think a lot of people have said that Gone Home was a better attempt at storytelling in games than Beyond was. And finally, Sonic: The Lost World, which is on Wii U and 3DS. Sonic seems to struggle to get any excitement going these days.
It's because they released that one where he turns into a werewolf and everyone was just sort of like, God, not going near this again.
I don't know what
Colour was it? Colours was the one on the Wii. There was one oh no, I'm thinking of Generations.
Generations was okay.
I enjoyed Generations. Yeah, it was because it went back to what Sonic's meant to be, which is watching something go ridiculously fast and thinking you're having something to do with it before you hit something and realise you weren't at all.
I just grew up without an affinity for Sonic. I'd never had...
So you never had Sega or Nintendo, right?
No, I was really poor growing up.
Despite that, we are known as the Sonic and Knuckles of the UK games industry.
Much like Jay-Z had his rough upbringing, I grew up on the streets. I didn't have my... Why are you laughing? I didn't have my Master System. I didn't have anything like that.
It's just a thug life, really. On the
thug life. That's why
hustler.
This is tattooed on my knuckles. It's not a fashion statement. It's from where I'm from.
He was out in the corner pushing pogs.
Star Wars pogs.
I had the same experience. I didn't have a Nintendo or Sega growing up. I had to go to my friend's house.
I was an Atari ST kid.
Yeah, I was a Commodore
and just no. I mean, I guess it's a bit of a hypocrisy because now I'm like, Pokemon, hey, Pokemon. Like I can get into that, but
not Sonic, not Sega's mascot.
I just can't on to them. Sega, though, they've had some crackers.
You'll
call. This is Alpha Pro. When are we getting an Alpha Protocol sequel?
This you really want that?
Abandon your Sonic franchise. Plow all of that into Alpha Protocol.
We loved that. I think that was one of the. It was must have been amongst the first games I properly reviewed when I was at Jinx.
I'm sure people are familiar with Alpha Protocol, but just in case, this was
it's the greatest game ever made. Imagine Mass Effect. Imagine an early Mass Effect, but you're a spy rather than a space captain.
James Bond Mass Effect.
Yeah, it was
more Austin Powers maybe at times.
But sort of. It had that element of like, wow, this is actually quite a good, complex game, and at the same time, it had that sort of B-movie. This is so bad, it's brilliant element to it. And
it was fundamentally broken in a lot of ways.
It's been patched since.
Okay.
But, yeah.
You say broken, Guy. I say challenging.
Wasn't it Obsidian that made it?
Yes, that was
Obsidian. And they made Fallout New Vegas, which a lot of people consider the best.
Fundamentally broken.
They're also it's Obsidian coming up with South Park Stick of Truth.
It is, yeah. Which
another
is
game
out before Christmas, I think.
Cannot wait for that.
Yeah, it looks funny.
Should be a giggle.
Sorry, Sonic. I mean, there's nothing personal. Just I've never had an affinity with you. I'm sure people out there will love it. It's not for me.
The weird thing is, and this will the Sonic purists out there will,
and they're out there,
and they are out there. Is the fact that I was trying to request this for a review I was doing for something else. I think for last week, and I was trying to get a copy from Sega, and Nintendo's handling it. So Nintendo is taking care of all the... This is something that Neil will be familiar with because they do it for Capcom as well. They'll have a hero game like Monster Hunter or whatever. I don't know if that's the right term.
Yeah, Monster Hunter is like being done by Nintendo.
But they will publish it. They'll take care of the marketing and everything. And it's a strange thing that I've never fully wrapped my head around. But
well, that's why I felt it important to get my Wii U as soon as possible, so like I had a handle on how I was going to play to help everyone along. But
so yeah, Sonic Lost World is coming out on 3DS and Wii U. Okay, thanks very much, guys. That's it for this episode. Just to say thanks to you guys, and we haven't even mentioned your Twitter or social feeds.
You can find me on Neil Gortz with a Z on Twitter, or the Capcom_UK, or the Capcom UK Facebook group.
We mentioned it before because if you have any comments or anything on Capcom's games from a community perspective, you're the guy that's to get.
Feed them my way, and I'll gobble them up and try and answer them where possible.
And if you're not just watching me and Neil talking utter rubbish over social media, I'm just at Sam Conisbee, CONISBEE.
Nice.
That's me. That's all I've got.
Guys, Sam, especially, real pleasure to get you on. Neil,
Less
It's
fractionally less.
Pleasure to have you on again. I'm getting returning guests at this point, at this juncture in the
old hat Gorton.
Well, good luck following that. Whoever's up next.
Have you got any ideas who's up next? Because we'll just put some smack down for them now.
Oh, actually, next week I have the legendary Sensible Software on the show.
Sensible Software.
We can't rip into them. I don't like this stuff.
They're pretty
good. Well, good luck.
Although me and Neil do live our lives a quarter mile at a time, so we don't really care who's on next week.
You will. I'm sure you will listen to it. You'll hear it. I'm actually going to be back at the Loading Bar. If anyone's in London, they are doing a special launch for I think it's a Sensible Software history book.
Yeah,
I know you don't care.
Bit of cannon fodder.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking to John Hare, the author of the book, down at Loading Bar again. So
I like a good coffee table book.
Yes.
So come down and heckle.
Come down and heckle, and we'll be recording in the basement. We should do a live show, really, but that will be next week's show. That'll be going out next Wednesday on the 23rd of October. Guys, real pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
having us on your now award-winning
show.
Podcast.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think we mentioned it enough. If you have any feedback, please send it to podcast@guycocker.com. Next week, as I say, I'll be back with the guys from Sensible Software. If you've got any questions for them, ping me a question on that email address or hit me up on Twitter. Remember, subscribe in iTunes. If you can leave me a review, like I say, especially if you like it. If you don't like it, go and leave some feedback on someone else's show. But that really helps other people find the show, which is really appreciated. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Okay, this is an audio test. I'm with Sam and Neil. Sam, just tell me how good those donuts are.
They're pretty good. They're nice donuts. The blend of the soft dough with the sort of the little crunchy
vermicelli.
Hundreds and thousands.
Is that the proper name for it?
I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. I always thought it was like an Italian
vermicelli.
Hard C. Vermicelli.
Vermicelli.
What? That's the name for hundreds and thousands.
Yeah. Vermicelli. Like that. I might do this Italian voice for the whole podcast. Thanks for inviting me back.
For the first half.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
Hey, Sky so racism on this award-winning podcast.